Eurovision Song Contest is organized annually by the European Broadcasting Union, and the broadcaster from each participating country is responsible for selecting their nation's entry. It's all about the music, and the most talented artist always wins. Now, you probably chuckled at that idea because even the most dedicated Eurovision fans can't deny that the politics and drama are a huge part of its appeal, and numerous papers have been written about its geographical voting. Sometimes, certain countries try to get smart and take things a step further, as over the years there's been multiple attempts to cheat. But one country in particular has been involved in far more scandals than any other. Azerbaijan, through their Eurovision history, has been accused of bribery and vote rigging backed by their corrupt petrostate. In this video, I'm going to go over some of Azerbaijan's repeated Eurovision scandals and talk about why it matters even if you don't give a flying duck about the Eurovision. Azerbaijan's first Eurovision scandal came in 2009, just 1 year after their Eurovision debut, when an EBU investigation revealed that the Azerbaijani broadcaster blurred Armenia's voting number and distorted the TV signal during their performance. The Azerbaijani broadcaster was fined by the EBU and warned that future violations would result in a 3-year suspension from the competition. Azerbaijan accepted the fine as fair, which totaled to 2,700 euros. Wait, what? Is this a parking ticket, or did they miss a couple of zeros? I mean, if the penalty for trying to sabotage a rival is that small, a bad actor might even be encouraged to come up with new ways to try to bend the rules and just pay an annual fee each time they get caught, while the EBU continuously adds more and more rules to pretend that they are dealing with the cheating problem. Anyway, in August of the same year, Azerbaijani citizens who had voted for Armenia were summoned for questioning by their Ministry of National Security, during which they were accused of being, quote, unpatriotic and, quote, a potential security risk. This prompted another EBU investigation that resulted in another new Eurovision rule, which says the broadcasters were not allowed to reveal voter identities. In 2011, Turkey was represented by the band Yüksek Sadakat. The band's bass guitarist Kutlu Özmakinaçı accused Azerbaijan of vote buying. He claimed to have learned from Turkish delegates that Azerbaijan bribed the jury with $30 million, and it was orchestrated by Azerbaijan's First Lady. Those were some pretty big allegations, and even though they won that year without any hard evidence, it never got much media attention. The bombshell came 2 years later. In 2013, Lithuanian media released an undercover video showing representatives from Azerbaijan trying to bribe Lithuanians for votes. In the video, the Azerbaijani representative details the plan, which involved recruiting groups of 10 people each and supplying them with SIM cards so they could vote multiple times during the voting window. It was also suggested that similar activity was taking place in a total of 15 countries. But, as any Eurovision fan will tell you, you can't win the Eurovision by televotes alone. That's why, that same year, accusations were also made in Swedish press citing a delegation member according to whom Azerbaijan tried to buy votes from jury members with, quote, enough money to live off for a year. The EBU later confirmed an attempt of cheating but said they couldn't establish a connection between the Azerbaijani representatives and the Azerbaijani broadcasters. So they pretty much got away with it, but thanks to them, another rule got added to Eurovision that said all broadcasters were to be responsible for preventing fraud to their advantage, regardless of where the fraud came from. Regarding the fraudulent votes, at first the EBU said the cheating attempt was unsuccessful due to their fraud prevention system, but later confessed that Azerbaijan had cheated and that it was organized and that it was very expensive. In case you were wondering, they came in second place that year. In 2014, during a rehearsal run, there seemed to be a very peculiar technical error when Azerbaijan's presenter was announcing their points.
And our 8-point goes to Greece.
Could we have that once again, please? Please repeat.
Our 8 points go to Greece.
Sorry, the points are not correct. At least they don't correspond to the points that we have received from you. So we'll have to get back to you in just a few minutes.
A few moments later.
Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan.
And here are the first points from Azerbaijan. Good evening. May we have the rest of your points, please?
Hello, Copenhagen again. Here is Azerbaijan, Land of Fire calling. Thank you for the great show. And let me please say hello to all Eurovision family. And here is our results. The 8-point go to Greece.
And I'm so sad to say that it is not correct.
Our 10-point go to
Azerbaijan, the Land of Fire.
Norway.
We have to have your 8 points again, please, because it is not correct.
Our 10-point goes to Greece.
Azerbaijan, I repeat, we need your 8 points again because they're not correct.
Sorry, our 8 points goes to Greece.
I'm so sorry, Azerbaijan, but we need to move on.
Of course, our 8 points goes to Greece.
Okay. Listen, Azerbaijan, your points are not corresponding with the points that we have received from you, Azerbaijan, so I'm afraid that we need to come back to you later.
A few moments later.
I'm so sorry, but we're not able to get the real points from Azerbaijan, so we need to go to the big boss, Jon Ola. Jon Ola, can you help us with the points from Azerbaijan?
Yes, indeed I can. Seems to be a little error, but I can read out the point from Azerbaijan. 8 points go to Armenia.
Okay, so this was a rehearsal run. These were not real votes, but randomly assigned for testing purposes. So this was not exactly a cheating attempt, but it's also more than just a cringy moment. It's an insight to a deep-rooted phenomenon in Azerbaijani society, but more on that later. In 2016, Swedish newspaper Aftonbladet exposed a connection between the Swedish jury and their unusual votes for Azerbaijan. The Swedish public votes ranked Miracle by Samra 24th out of 25, yet somehow Azerbaijan managed to secure 10 points from the Swedish jury. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that the songwriters for Azerbaijan's entry routinely worked for Capitol Records, the same record label that represents one of the Swedish jurors, Lisa Ajax. She gave Azerbaijan top points. Another Swedish juror, Anders Retov, was the writer for Azerbaijan's Eurovision 2009 entry, and he ranked Azerbaijan 6th, not necessarily fraud, but not exactly unbiased either. In 2021's Junior Eurovision, the Azerbaijani commentators talked over the entirety of the performance of the Armenian representative Malena.
Tele ve radyo aparıcıydı.
Ona sonra bakarıq. Qaldı ki Karla çox gözəl xanım.
That went on for the entirety of her performance, which, as you might recall, goes against the rules of the contest. The EBU sought clarification from the Azerbaijani broadcaster about the incident, but no response was received. If it's any consolation, she went on to win the contest. One of the most intricate scandals to date came in 2022, when the EBU revealed that 6 countries' juries, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Montenegro, Poland, Romania, and San Marino, were found to have had irregular voting patterns. The Flemish broadcaster later reported that the juries of these countries had agreed to vote for each other. As a result, these 6 countries' rigged votes were substituted by votes based on countries with similar voting patterns. Honestly, I'm quite impressed how the EBU managed to catch that last one. Which made me wonder, these are all the scandals that we know about. What scandals have gone unnoticed? I mean, some of the cheating must be paying off if they're persistently trying to do it. And Eurovision certainly is not the only competition where Azerbaijan has been caught cheating in either. Just this month, an Italian wrestler claimed he turned down a $300,000 bribe to lose the match against Azerbaijan. But Azerbaijan's scandals in sports are so extensive that it can be its own video. What I want to touch on here is why they desperately want to win these competitions and why should anyone care. To understand this, we need to know a little bit more about Azerbaijan, the country, but stick with me here, I promise there's a point to all of it. Freedom House ranks Azerbaijan 2 places above Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. Wealth and power in the oil-rich country is heavily concentrated in the hands of the Aliyev family that's been ruling the country for 31 years. In fact, remember the First Lady who was alleged to be orchestrating the vote buying in 2011? She would later become the country's vice president, which I've mentioned in previous videos, but during researching this video, I wondered who was the vice president before her. So I went to check and guess what? Nobody! The position of Vice President of Azerbaijan was created for her by her husband to consolidate power into the hands of the ruling family. The last thing the Aliyevs need is for the Azerbaijani people to start asking questions. Questions like, how come we're the poorest country in the region while being the world's 25th highest producer of oil? The list is long and beyond the scope of this video, but now that we have a little context, we can understand the 2 main reasons why Azerbaijan resorts to shady tactics in international competitions. 1. Domestically, Azerbaijan's victories would boost national pride, which discourages people from asking these types of questions. But by far the most effective tool the regime employs to achieve this is their state-sponsored Armenophobia. It's the oldest trick in the authoritarian handbook. By keeping Azerbaijanis united against a common external enemy, they can rally nationalistic sentiments and justify military aggression against Armenians, including ethnically cleansing 120,000 Armenians from Artsakh just this year. This explains why many of their Eurovision scandals specifically target Armenia. It may seem harmless or stupid, but it's just the tip of a very real and very dark iceberg. Seriously, I made a video covering what they teach school children in that country. If you haven't seen it, you're in for a ride. Which brings us to number 2. Azerbaijan's success in global competitions would cultivate a positive image internationally, so that when you hear Azerbaijan, you think of that country with a catchy Eurovision song, and not Azerbaijan, the country committing some of the biggest crimes against humanity of this century on European soil. Ironically, their repeated involvement in cheating scandals has the opposite effect. Each scandal tarnishes their reputation further, and with videos like this, we can see through the facade and pull the attention back to the grim realities of the authoritarian regime's manipulation and control. Hey! Don't you hate it when YouTubers ask annoying questions at the end of videos that's clearly designed to provoke you into commenting and propping up their engagement metrics? That's so lame. Anyway, who is the single best Eurovision winner of all time and why is it Alexander Rybak?